Hello and welcome back to the channel with me, the Orienteering Kid, where today we're in Bologna for the 6th round in the A category of Torus Season 3. Yes, we are here for this 6th event in the Torus Cup, a month-long series organised by course setters from all around the world and can be found here on the Tempo Simulator, the link to which can be found in the description of this video. Now today we are in Italy, or specifically the town of Bologna, for a course set by Alessio Tonani, with his advisors being Aaron Gaio and Daniel Guardini. Now, as most of you will be aware, Alessio is a very strong competitor in these events and is regularly coming probably in the top 5, currently second in this season of the Torus Cup, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what he has put together as such a strong competitor. So yeah, let's just jump straight into it because I don't have anything more to say. Going into the A category of the Torus Season 3 section and into day 6, which today we have a 1 to 4,000 map with 2.5 meter contours. It's 8 stations with a 30-second penalty for every wrong answer and a 4 meter zero tolerance. The terrain is urban or parks, and the instructions are that real flags are used in the photos, with a black cross being a table. There are red circles to emphasise the flags in 7 stations out of the 8, so we'll keep an eye out to see which of the stations doesn't have that, and then afterwards we know that all of them will, and zoom can be helpful in some stations. So I think that is useful information, just reminding us that the zoom is there to use, and yeah, nothing really looks too out of the ordinary. This looks like it could be good fun. As always, my answers will be appearing in the top right hand corner of the screen, so you can see exactly what I'm putting, correct or wrong, with the black and red letters respectively at the moment that I do. And yeah, with that, let's have a go at this 6th round of this season of the Torus Cup. And here is station 1. Okay, there's the red circles of the walls. There's quite a lot of walls with the bushes as well. Okay, though that's got to be the set of bushes. That does look quite far away, but that corner of the hedge actually must be Bravo. That tree, so if that's the canopy, I'm going for tree over there, but I think that's the distinctive tree. Although that could be it actually. Where's the hill? Is that part of the woodland instead? No, I'm pretty sure that's a 0. The canopy has to be Charlie, with that black cross of a table. That side of it, I'm pretty sure it's Alpha, with that tree finally being Echo. Yeah, it's got to be Echo. And that station did take me just over a minute, and it was really that second task which was throwing me a lot, with Foxtrot being on the distinctive tree or not, but I have gone with it being a 0 as I had seen the tree to the left hand side of it, and I was trying a lot to picture whether that was going to be in the white woodland or was the distinctive tree on its own, but I have said it was the distinctive tree, and so that one must be a 0 with Foxtrot being on a different tree, which didn't seem to be mapped, which was part of my confusion. But I haven't put a 0 in any of the rest of the stations, so I'm fairly happy with that one being a 0 now, as we went off to Bravo to start with, and that was fairly clear once we worked it out. I can see that the red circles have very nicely marked out all the kites, and I think that is very helpful, but we haven't hit the station which doesn't have the circles yet, so we'll have to remember that as we go into station 2. Okay, there's a load of trees, there's potentially a wall in front of us, Alpha's on a wall as well. That's the wall in front of us, that makes sense, so that does look like it's Bravo. Or was that wrong? Okay, that doesn't, I don't feel like that was wrong, but that means that's a 0. Yeah, that works, and that tree fits very nicely as Charlie, so I'm going to believe it. And so I'm pretty sure there's nothing back there, with that corner of the wall being the wrong corner. And that station had quite a lot of tricks in it for the second station, with it being 3 zeros, I'm pretty sure, the second, fourth and fifth tasks. And it did take a lot of thinking, although it did take me about half the time at the previous station because of the 3 zeros. But I think the second and fourth tasks were fairly clear, being too far to the right. It was just this fifth one which was on the wrong corner of the wall, and if you were going way too quickly you wouldn't have noticed that, and so would have made the mistake of going with Echo, but I'm 100% sure that was a 0 to finish off. The only 2 tasks I did put as kites were the first and third, with Bravo on the thicket it, and I'm pretty sure it was Charlie on the tree as well, or it might have been Delta, one of the two, but I know there was a kite there, and that was a good second station, so we will just move straight on now to station 3. Okay, building, side of building, colours building, 2 trees, Delta's right in front of us, so don't forget that. That building must be the wrong building, with that corner of paved area being Foxtrot, that building, that side, it's going to have to be Charlie, with that being the wrong hedge, and that left thicket is going to be Alpha. And this is where I have sped up, as that was an easier station for me. The first task being 0 miles away, that was pretty clear from the start, as none of the features around it seemed to be matching up, and then we were happy for the second task being Foxtrot on the inside corner of that bit of paved area, and then we just moved around going to the building. The fourth task also being 0 on the wrong hedge was quite a cheeky one, but I did really like it, and then for the final one going to the tree of Alpha, that was really nice as well. And yes, so far I am enjoying this event. It is going well for me at the moment, but that could all change as we go into station 4. Okay, trees at the back, there's the path running through, there's a thicket in front of us as well. That tree side has to be Charlie. That with the thicket, that's going to be that, and we want the corner, so that has to be Echo. That hedgerow kind of got to be Bravo. Thicket northern side is a 0, and that tree pretty sure is a 0 as well. And that was an interesting 4th station. I am kind of glad we didn't go out to Alpha, because I never really placed exactly where that kite was, and so I was happy that we stuck with the other 5. Just remembering Alpha was there to make sure we didn't miss punch. We obviously had the tree right out the back, which I'm pretty sure was Bravo to start us off, and then we came forwards to the walls with the thicket, and there seems to be a lot of use of this rectangular walls, which I do like, but it is easy to misplace us. Only having one with the thicket on made it clear that we were going for the Echo Foxtrot set, and Echo was definitely in the right corner of the open land before we went to the hedge, and then we had to think about the side of the thicket for the 4th task, and it was definitely the wrong side, so that to me was a clear 0 before going out to a tree, and I'm pretty sure there was nothing on the tree that I was looking at in the right place, and Delta seemed too far to the right hand side, so I was happy to 0 that for the final task, and I do think that was another very good station, as we do cross the halfway point in this event and we go into station 5. Okay, we're just going down the car park now with the hedge and trees either side, getting the zoom ready. That corner of the hedge, that's got to be a 0 surely, with the fence down there. Okay, that is a fence, so that's got to be Delta. That corner of the hedge is, I still think that's a 0. I'm going with that. Final tree, or down in the open land, that's got to be Charlie, and right in front of us, first tree coming along, so it's Foxtrot. And to me that was possibly the most interesting station we've had so far, as it was quite literally 2 lines of trees with a hedge to the left hand side of us, but it was utilised very nicely, with the first task being too far to the left hand side, that was clear, but then coming across the Delta, it was quite hard to see the fence, but I could just about get it with Delta on the correct end we wanted. And then the 3rd task actually being a 0 on the wrong corner of the hedge again. If you'd read the centre of the circle wrong, you could have easily put Alpha, but to me it was a very clear 0. And then we had to use our zoom more to go back to Charlie for the 4th task, but I think I could just about make out some open lands to place Charlie there, and then we came forward to the front tree, just having a small think about it to make sure we were there, and it was definitely Foxtrot. And that was a nice 5th station, different to all the others again, and we will just now go straight on to station 6. Okay, a load of trees right in front of us, the building corner. Okay, so that's got to be the wall corner, so we want between those 2 trees. I'm pretty sure that's Charlie. Let's work our way round that tree. Next tree does look like it's Bravo. I'm going to go with that. And then this between 2 trees is the wrong one. And there's nothing over there. And that between 2 trees is Echo. And that was the station with no red circles, and I can see that they weren't necessarily needed there. I do think that was fine. But the photo just really had a load of trees, so we had to anchor off the wall to the left hand side, which was clear as the uncrossable wall on the map. And then we came forward, and as we counted the trees, we could make out Charlie to be in the right place for the first task, and then continuing on to Bravo. The 3rd task was the most interesting for me, being between 2 trees, but it was between the tree that Alpha was on and the tree closer to us, not the 2 trees that Echo was between, which we came to for the final task. So that was quite a nice 0, and also the 4th task being on the scattered trees. I'd managed to notice for the first couple of tasks that there weren't any kites on the scattered trees, and so when we went there I was happy to say that one was a 0. And that was another interesting station, another different one again, with a lot more tree counting, and so I don't really know what to expect here as we go into the penultimate station of the day, station 7. Okay, it's trees at the back with the hills, that's miles away, so that's a kite there. 2 hills, open land between the two. Echo does look about there. Hill at the back over there in the open land. Alpha's looking nice. I'm still liking Alpha, I think I'm going to go with it. Spur there on that hill. It's kind of got to be Charlie, with the hill right in front of us there definitely being a 0, and that re-entrant, I think that's also a 0, because I'm pretty sure Delta was too far away, although I have thought about that, and that may be wrong, we'll check that later. But that was another different station again, making use of quite a lot of contour features with the saddle or between the 2 hills for Echo, and then going out to Alpha, which is possibly my least confident task there, but I'm pretty sure Alpha was on the end of the hill, and also Charlie was on the correct spur for the 3rd task. It was just the final 2 being 0s. The first 0 was very clear, but the second one could have been Delta, but I'm pretty sure it was a 0. I'm going to stick with that for now. But again, that was a good station, and we will just now go on to the final station of the day, which is station 8. Okay, kite's back there. Where's the 6th kite? Oh, it's on the rock. Okay, so that's got to be the rock. So the tree and the thicket, that's got to be Echo. With the monument, that's the correct side for Alpha. Right in front of us, could that be Foxtrot? I'm struggling to say it will be, so I'm going to have to 0 that now. That may be wrong though, as that one does look like it's Delta, and that hedge, that's a hedge there surely. Yeah, that's got to be Bravo to finish off the day. And with a time of 273 seconds, I have made up some time from my slow station to start us off, and so I'm happy that I wasn't spending a minute on every station, but that isn't too bad a time at all. However, we will go through and see whether I have made any mistakes. Not that I think I have at the moment, but you never know. I'll probably notice quite a bit as we go. But with this first station, what we had here to anchor on really was what I thought was a massive thicket, and there's a couple of walls with the paved area. But when the map came up, I couldn't really see massive thickets anywhere, so I had to go with the walls, and what I saw was a rectangular wall here with a square wall behind it, and the only place I can really see on the map that could be is the rectangular thing here with the square behind it. And then I noticed that there is a canopy here next to the long rectangular wall, and that could easily be a canopy. You can see the tables behind it, so that is the canopy we can see. We're crossing the hedge by the square one, and we get the picnic table, and then there's another wall, and we're going back to the corner of the linear thicket. So we're crossing this linear thicket with the bench wall back to the corner, and that does take us quite nicely to Bravo. So that did take a small while to get, but I'm pretty sure that one was Bravo. The one that took a lot longer for me to get, however, was the second task, and this could be a 0 or it could be Foxtrot. I'm still very skeptical of either, but looking out there, we want the only distinctive tree. When we look out, and we can see that Foxtrot is on a tree. Just, is it distinctive enough? That is the big question here, and I'm going to stick with it's not, because what I can see here is potentially this distinctive tree, and then there's another tree miles away from it, and one hiding behind it, and then there's also another tree further down. So if we work from the paved area, the one that's all the way back here must be this distinctive tree, and then we come forward and there's a couple of trees in this patch, so I'm pretty sure that is the woodland, although this one may be part start of it actually, and maybe this is Foxtrot for the second task, because Foxtrot is more forward as well. Does the hill come down here? No, I'm changing my mind now. I think that one is Foxtrot. Even though it did take me 35 seconds to get there, I should have taken my instinct straight away and gone with Foxtrot, because that would have shaved a minute off my time looking at it. But now actually I'm seeing that this tree is probably part of the woodland, although to me, to start with, it looked too far away. Although I was probably struggling to get a grasp of the map by this point. There is definitely a tree there. I just thought it was too small to be mapped compared to this one, and I wanted Foxtrot on there, but I do think it is Foxtrot now for the second task. So well done if you did manage to get that right. And then for the third one, we came forward to the canopy, and this is where I definitely knew that there was a canopy there, and we wanted the northeastern tip of that canopy, which is the corner closest to us, and Charlie is nicely there. So that was a nice Charlie for the third task, before we then went to the picnic bench, which we identified in working out Bravo for the first task, and wanting the southeastern side of it, that one is definitely Alpha for the fourth task, before finally going out to the tree, and we want the northern side here, to which this one was Echo for the fifth task, and I think that was quite a nice ending of the station. It was just that second task which took me a long time, and I have ended up getting it wrong, meaning this station I'm pretty sure was a no zero station, which really was quite a nice psychological trick to start us on, with me definitely thinking I was right for this task because I only put 1 0 in the station, but it does turn out it was a no zero station, so well done if you did manage to get that one right. Before we moved on to the second station, and there were quite a few zeros here I'm pretty sure. With this first task, what we wanted was the southern tip of a vegetation boundary, and now what have we really got to anchor on other than looking forward and seeing there is a wall here and there is a couple of thickets around. So this has got to be a rectangular wall that we were seeing before, and when we look on the map, the only one that really fits the description for me is this rectangular wall here with the 2 thickets either side, and we're looking into the woodland. That works quite well. And then we go off to the left hand side and we're crossing the path to the thicket. So if we cross the path to the thicket, that looks like this one here, and we go to the left hand side to see that Bravo does seem to be on the southern tip of the vegetation boundary between the thicket and the open land. So that was a nice Bravo to start off this station, before we came to the first 0 and we went miles to the right hand side. And so me being fairly confident in the Bravo, I was happy to put 0. I just wanted to check it for a small bit, but I do think this is miles off to the right hand side, as I'm pretty sure Foxtrot is between these 2 thickets here. And so I was happy with a 0 for that task, before we came back to the left hand side and we wanted the southern side of this tree. And really knowing where we are now, confidently, we're going between the 2 thickets that Delta is between, and we're going up between them to that tree, which Charlie does seem to be on the southern side of. We're struggling to see the tree a bit, but I'm pretty sure it's about in the right place. So that was a nice Charlie for the third one. Before the fourth one, we went up and we went back to the right hand side. So if you were still doubting we were in the right place, you would have definitely gone with Alpha here, as it is on the northeastern outside corner of the linear thicket up here, but it is actually to the left hand side here, and so it's actually an end rather than a corner, even though it looks like a corner back there, but it is definitely not in the centre of the circle. And this was a 0 for the fourth task. And then we came forward, and this one I thought about for a bit longer than some of the others, but we want the southeastern outside corner of this wall, and I'm pretty sure Echo is very cleverly on the southwestern outside corner, the southeastern corner being out the photo down here, and that was a nice 0 to finish off the station for me. So going from a station of no zeros, we actually had a station of 3 zeros, so that's where all the zeros went from the first station. But I think again it was a good station, trying to trick us with some of the zeros off to the right hand side. You may have never properly placed yourself in that station, so well done if you did manage to do so. Then moving on to station 3, we came a bit more urban, as here we had a car park with a building, a couple of trees, and there's a hedge in front of us with Delta, to which the map came up and we want a building and we want the southern outside corner. So looking at the photo, Echo is on a southern outside corner, so some of you might have put Echo here. However, looking at the circle, where is the open land that we can see to the left hand side of the building, which has Alpha on a tree? There isn't any with this building. We're actually going for the building down here, so this is definitely a 0 for the first task. And then we confirm this as we go to the second task, and we want the inside corner of the paved area there, to which going to the right hand side of the building we're actually looking at does point us very nicely to Foxtrot in that corner. So that was a very nice Foxtrot for the second task, confirming our 0 for the first task, before we then went to the building we actually wanted, and we want the northwestern side of this building, where Bravo is actually on the corner and Charlie is on the northwestern side. So I was happy with Charlie for the third task. And then we came forward to a thicket, and those not concentrating properly here will have put Delta. However, looking at where this thicket is in relation to the building and the corner, is about in between the two. So looking at the map, between Charlie and Foxtrot is on this thicket, where Delta is definitely not the thicket to the right hand side, which is out the photo over here. So that to me was clearly a 0 for the fourth task. Well done if you did manage to spot that though. That was the hardest task task in this station before finally we went back to the left hand side of the building and we wanted the northern thicket and the southern side. So there are two thickets, one hiding behind the building and the one we actually want. So this is the one hiding behind the building where Bravo is, and the one that we actually want has got Alpha on it, and it's definitely on the southern side, so that was a nice Alpha to finish off the station. And to me that was my quickest station, definitely the best station of today for me personally, and I did really enjoy it. I thought that was quite a nice change of pace, especially from the first two. Before for the fourth station we came to this view, and what we had here was another walled area with a thicket right in front of us as well, and there's some trees back there with the hedges right in front of us in the open land. So when the map came up and here we wanted a tree in the junction of paths, I looked up and saw the junction of paths here, and looking sort of in the right place on the right hand side of this path, we come to the conclusion that Charlie is on the correct tree and it's definitely on the southern side. So to me that was a nice Charlie to start off this station, before we then came forward to a small patch of open land, and this is the one I had to do a small bit more thinking about to check we weren't in a different place, but we definitely were in the right place here, and we wanted the western inside corner of this open land. So coming forward we have the open land to the right hand side of this building, and that's this one here, and we're wanting the western corner, which is the corner that Echo is quite nicely in. So that was a nice Echo for the second task. And then for the third task we don't move very far as we move to the hedge on the edge of the open land, to which we want the southwestern end of it, and actually we're north going upwards. This does match up quite nicely as we see the hedge here, and Bravo is definitely on the southwestern end of it. So to me that was a good Bravo for the second task. And then for these final two tasks I'm pretty sure they were both zeros, as for this first one we wanted the northeastern side of this thicket, and this is a very cruel task but I do quite like it. It's keeping you paying attention for the zero tolerance, as it is just 4 meters, there's no mention of side problems, and this thicket is bigger than 4 meters, so it can be on the other side of the thicket, and in this case it is. So Foxtrot is on the southwestern side of this thicket, not the northeastern, making this task a 0. Well done if you did manage to spot that. Before finally we went out to a distinctive tree, and here it was trying to work out whether Delta is actually on the correct tree or not, and I'm starting to have doubts about whether it actually is. But actually looking at it in relation to the Charlie tree, it's kind of got to be slightly to the left of the Charlie tree, and Delta is a long way to the right hand side, so I'm confident that the tree we actually want is this one here, and so this one is definitely a 0 to finish off the station. And that was another good station. As the fourth station, the change in pace from the third station was good. I am glad again that the Alpha Kite wasn't used. I can just about see now it's in the northeastern part of this woodland, but that could have been quite a cruel task to throw in, so personally I'm thankful it wasn't thrown in, but I can see that maybe the Foxtrot thicket might have caught you out and you might have known where Alpha was, so it could have been quite a good task. Before we then moved to the second half of the day, and we opened it with a very different station, as it is just 2 lines of trees in a car park with a hedge on the left hand side of Alpha, and that is what you've really got to anchor on. And then the first task came up, and here we wanted the eastern outside corner of the open land boundary, but if we look at all the kites, we have 5 kites on trees, or what seemingly are on trees to start with, and Alpha's on the side of a hedge, not on a corner of a hedge. So that rules out all the kites straight away. The corner we actually want is to the left hand side of this line, and is probably back there somewhere. So to me that was quite a nice 0 to start off the station, even though I was going quite tentatively. I probably could have gone a bit quicker, to be honest. But then for the second task we came off to the right hand side, and it's the right hand line of trees, and we wanted the northeastern edge of the fence. But I'm struggling to see a fence here to start with. However, using the magnifier we can see that there are 2 posts there where a fence could be, and you can just about make out a small chain link which does make up the fence. So there is definitely a fence there, and Delta is on the northeastern end of it. So eventually I was happy to put Delta for the second task. And then for the third one we came forward and we wanted the junction of 2 hedges. So this is one where you could have easily put Alpha, but to me looking at it, Alpha is going to be on the paved area here on this edge of the thicket, not in the centre of the circle. We actually want it to be back there, and so this one is a 0 for the third task as well, but that was probably the hardest task here. Before we then move to the southern inside corner of the open land on the left hand line of the 2 trees we can see, and we go down there, and Bravo is definitely too close, but if you look at where Charlie is, the pavement does seem to start where Charlie's base is, so I was pretty happy to say that the open land would start there as well, and so this one is going to be Charlie for the fourth task. Before coming forward, and we want the right hand line of trees again in line from where we've said Alpha is on the thicket. So we're coming across from Alpha and we hit this tree as the first tree, and that must be the tree that we're looking at, and there are no trees hiding outside the photo, putting this one as Foxtrot to finish off the station. And this was really an interesting station. It was quite hard to see potentially where the Charlie and Delta kites were, but this was why he warned us zoom might be useful. So well done if you did manage to do well in that station. I thought it was good. Before the sixth station came up, and here we went different again, as we just have some open land with a load of trees. And I did have to think about this to start with, but really all we've got to anchor on is the corner of the wall, which we can see on the map is going to be this bit here. Knowing that we can see our standing location on the map, there are no other places we could be, so this was definitely good to start us off. And then doing some counting of trees, the first tree to the right hand side is going to be this one. It does seem to fit as this one in terms of angles and stuff, and so I'm happy there aren't any trees hiding outside the photo. We then want to go left on this front line to the first tree that we want to be between, and the other tree is going to be the right and behind it. So coming from this tree we go left to this tree, that's the first tree we want, and then going back into the right we come to this tree. So this tree with that one are the two trees, and Charlie is definitely between them, so that was quite a nice Charlie to start off the station. Before the second task came and we had to do a bit more tree counting just to this tree. Now the control description does only say tree. I do wonder whether it would have been nice to potentially put a side on it. However, in counting trees there's a large gap between the one we've just used for placing Charlie here and the one we actually want, so we're going to go along the large gap between the front and back line of trees to this tree there, and that does seem to be Bravo on that tree. I would have potentially said it's on the northwestern side of that tree, but I don't think it hindered the task. I thought it was very clear, so that was a nice Bravo for the second task. Before we then came forward and we wanted a between two trees, so coming forward it has to be Echo or nothing, and I was fairly confident with my Charlie and Bravo for the first two tasks, so I was happy to say it was a 0 as I wanted it there to the right hand side of Charlie. However, I can see that quite a few might have gone with Echo if you were doubting your answers still and potentially thought that Echo was definitely there with another tree hiding out the photo. You will see later though this isn't the case, as we came to the fourth task and we wanted the northeastern tip of the scattered trees, and so coming to the right hand side the only candidate is going to be Foxtrot, but following from where again we've said Charlie is, Foxtrot is going to be on the tree here, not the scattered trees area we can see, as that's going to be here instead. So that to me was a very clear 0 for the fourth task. Before we came forward and we wanted the first set of between two trees, and this is where I'm pretty sure it was Echo for the final task rather than the third task. But again, I can see if you put Echo for the third one you could be very confident in saying this one was 0 for the fifth one, and so it would be interesting to see afterwards how many have done that in the percentages. But that I thought again was another very diverse station, changing it up a lot. This is becoming a common theme in quite a lot of competitions actually, but I do really like it. It's changing the pace, and that was a station testing some very different elements of Trello. Before we came to the penultimate station of the day, and this is where things got very hard as we had a lot of contour features to use, because looking out we're just in some woodlands with some patches of open land. Although those patches of open land did come very useful. The first task here was between two hills, and I had seen that it is on the edge of the woodland in the patch of open land, and so saying they were useful, we're going to the right hand side of the area we are looking at, so it must be this bit of open here, and I can see a hill there and a hill there with Echo very nicely placed in between them. So to me eventually that was a nice Echo for the first task. The one that took me the longest time here though was the second task, being Alpha or 0, and here we wanted a hill with an open land and we wanted the northern part of it. So I was thinking about this a lot as we go off to the left hand side and we can see Alpha is potentially on the northern part of a hill. The thing that made me go with Alpha though is it is in potentially some open land, so eventually I was happy to say that one was Alpha. You can also see the hill in the woodlands just west of it here at the edge of the circle, so that does point out Alpha again for the second task. I could have spent a lot longer on that, but I did just go with it in the end. So yeah, that one was good as Alpha before the third task came, and we wanted the left hand of the two hills we used to place Echo, but instead it's described as a spur and we want the northwestern part of that spur. So coming from this hill to the left hand side of Echo, we're coming down the hill, and Charlie does seem to be on the side of the hill quite easily on a spur, so I'm pretty sure that one is Charlie for the third task in this station. Before we came to the final two with 2 0s, and for the first of these two we wanted a hill, but knowing where Echo was, Foxtrot is only really forward and we want a long way to the right hand side of where Echo was, so it must be out the photo or coming up the hill here, and this one is definitely a 0 for the fourth one. The one that made me think a lot more though is this fifth task, and here we want the western re-entrant. It's quite a low re-entrant, and Delta is definitely in a re-entrant, but is it in the right one? Because I've said it hasn't, and the thing that's confirming it for me is the western. So there is definitely 2 re-entrants in the circle, one that Delta's in, but I think it's the eastern one as it's nearly at the foot of the hill to the left of Echo here. We actually want one that's between Delta and Foxtrot, hiding behind the knoll that Foxtrot's on top of. So eventually it did take me a small bit of time, but it was actually the second quickest task for me in that station. That does surprise me, but I am happy to say that one is a 0 to finish off the station. And that was another good station. The use of the red circles definitely helped a lot to see all the kites, as I don't think I really ever saw Bravo properly. And yeah, I thought that was another very good station, again using a lot of contours which made things a lot more different. Before the final station we came and we had a nice open area with a path running through it, and that's all we could really anchor on. I'd seen that Alpha was potentially on a monument, and that's all I really got time to do to start with. What we have here is, for the first task, we want between a thicket and a tree. So looking out, where could we actually be? Well, we're following the path round to the right hand side and we're bending to the left. So we follow the path round and we can see this tree and a thicket, and Echo is between it. So we look to see if there are any other places we could be, and there aren't. So it's pretty clearly going to be Echo for the first task, between the thicket and the tree, before we then move to the monument, which we did talk about for anchoring us on Alpha. And just to check, Alpha's on the right side, it's definitely on the eastern side. So that was a nice Alpha for the second task for me. The one that took me the most time here, almost half the time for this station, is the third one, as to whether this one is Foxtrot or not, because I can clearly see that coming round from Echo, we're bending round the path and coming up, and really we're following the straight path round, and we want the southwestern part of a copse. But really, if Foxtrot is going to be in the right place, I'm expecting to see the path bend a bit more to the right hand side as it's starting to come around this corner. So I think this place is actually behind us, or potentially where we're stood, with Foxtrot maybe just being to the side of the path here, and this would definitely put it as a 0 for the third task. Well done if you did manage to get that one quicker. I just needed a lot of time to think about that one before the fourth task came, and what we had here was the eastern part of copse, and it's just behind the thicket that we have used for Echo. So we go the other side of the thicket and you can see that Delta is there, and there are some trees with a canopy potentially overarching, so it must be in the eastern part of this woodland, or it's definitely within 4 meters of it. And that was a nice Delta for the fourth task. Before the fifth one we came to a hedge or a linear thicket, and this one took a small bit more time than Delta, and I have just realised I've mispunched, as this one is definitely Charlie rather than Bravo. I was too fixated on saying whether it was the right kite to not notice that this one is slightly to the left hand side of this one, and that one is definitely Charlie instead. But Charlie is definitely on the southern end of this thicket which goes round, putting Charlie as the answer to this final task. And that is very annoying, but that is going to be 2 mistakes for today. It was a very good day, I have enjoyed it, the variety was great. It's just very annoying when you miss punch, especially with the final task. But again, that didn't take anything away from the event, so thank you to Alessio, Aaron and Daniel for putting this all together. I thought it was great, but let's go and see where that time puts us on the leaderboard, and you will see that I am in 12th, which isn't too bad at all, to be honest, at this time, especially with 2 mistakes and the miss punch. I'm not disappointed with it, really. We still have about 3 hours left to go on this, so I will probably drop a couple of places, but we will see how far I do drop as you join me later for the overall results. And we are back to see that I have only really officially dropped 1 place down to 13th. However, this isn't strictly true, as you will see as we scroll across that only 7 stations seem to have appeared, and this is because due to technical faults, the 8th station in this event was voided. I don't think this was meant to happen. This was a perfectly good station in my view, but for some technical reason it seems to have been, so that is very unfortunate. But that does mean that my miss punch doesn't stand anymore, which is fortunate from my perspective, and I am probably higher than I would have been. So even though this shouldn't really be the case, it has benefited me slightly. It is very well done though to Kentaro for winning this event even with the station void. He was in first when we finished earlier, and he still managed to hold it on with no mistakes. 8 seconds quicker than Yuha, who was then 7 seconds quicker than Pavel. So very well done to them for meddling. In terms of where Kentaro did win the event though, it does look like potentially in station 4 he was a lot quicker than anyone else really in the top 10 at least, and also really in station 7 where he won the station in 21 seconds, and there does seem to be quite a lot of errors there, which does bring us to the most interesting percentage for today, which was unsurprisingly station 7, with very high percentages across the board apart from this final task which only had 15% of correct answers. This was because 343 of you thought the answer was Delta, and 39 also went with Foxtrot. However, 70 did realise it was a 0. This was easily the hardest task of the day due to percentages, and I'm not really surprised so many did go with Delta, as it wasn't a re-entrant, it was just the re-entrant to the left of the one we wanted spotted that was hiding behind the knoll of Foxtrot. So well done if you did manage to spot that, but again the rest of the percentages here really were very high, and I think you all managed to have a very good day, so very well done for doing that. We do have one mistake of mine to go and look back on though that we didn't spot earlier, and it is the very first task of the day, being 11, that I thought was Bravo, but I have definitely realised now that this is a 0, because all I saw was the inside corner of the thicket and Bravo definitely seemed to match. However, looking at it a bit more carefully now, I can see the staircase which has been nicely obscured by the circle. This is only a limitation of Tom though, this isn't Alessio's fault at all, and so I saw the hedge as one continuous line with Bravo in the end of it. However, I can now see that there is a break and Bravo must be there, with the location we actually want being all the way back there, which is quite a long way back, and this does make this one a 0 to open the station. And it does turn out this first station did have 1 0 in it, so well done if you did manage to get that, as I was definitely caught off guard. And so now we've got that sorted, let's go and have a look at the overall results for this series so far. We've 2 more events to go now, and you will see that Severin is still in the lead, still only 0.7 points ahead of Alessio though, as his score today didn't count and Alessio was the organiser, so neither of them improved. But Ralph has moved into 3rd place, only 0.09 points behind Alessio, so that's very close for 2nd place, and really 1st place as well. They're all very bunched together, with Christian dropping down to 4th place, about 2 points behind Ralph, and then I'm just 0.4 points behind Christian. So this is still very close going into the final week. We still have 2 events to go, so it could all change as people are still improving their scores, with Lowry, Marcelo, Juha, Marit and Kentaro all able to probably move into the top 5 if they have some very good scores. So we will see how this plays out across the final week. And then on to the clubs, we can see that we have Massey, by no surprise, still in 1st place, and you can see that again they've basically won every competition, so they are doing very well there. MDoc have moved into 2nd place now, still 30 points behind Massey, with Krakow 13 points behind them, so they are starting to get a bigger gap on Krakow, which is looking like MDoc are starting to secure 2nd place. But Linkoping's OK are only half a point behind Krakow, so it's really anyone's fight for 3rd place, especially with MTC some 10 points behind Linkoping's as well. So actually this is still very interesting in the clubs, even though Massey are running away with it as they always seem to do, so very well done to them for doing well again. And then finally we come to the countries, and we can see that the Italians are still in the lead. They are now 16 points ahead exactly of the Finns, who are then 21 points ahead of the Swedes, so it is still a close fight for 1st and 2nd, but the Italians winning the event again today, they've increased their lead on the Finns, as the Finns and the Swedes didn't really improve at all today, and so it does look like they are again going to take this cup. But you can see, especially for 3rd place, the Brits have closed in a bit on the Swedes, now 11 points behind them, and the Germans are 2.5 points behind the Brits, so it is definitely still anyone's game for at least one of the medal positions, and I think this final week is going to be very crucial for all the categories. So thank you again to Alessio, Aaron and Danielle for putting on today's event. It was very good. It is a shame about the voided final station, because I did think that station was good in itself, but I have still enjoyed it, and I don't really think it's taken anything away from how good the competition was. It was very enjoyable to compete in. But that is going to be the end of today's video, so thank you all again for watching. If you'd like to like the video as always, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, making sure you hit the bell next to the subscribe button and select all so you're notified whenever I release a video. And also, as always, be sharing these videos. We are 3/4 of the way through this cup, but it's still not too late for people to be starting competing, getting ready for the next big competition which comes our way. And so, as always, be making sure you're showing them the simulator and these videos and getting them competing. And then finally, as always, make sure you're commenting down below any extra bits you think I've missed from this video, any extra points you have about any of the tasks, and any small bits you think I could add. And I will join you again next week for the 7th round of the A category in Torus Season 3.